जयति पराशरसूनुः सत्यवती हृदयनन्दनो व्यासः यस्य आस्य कमलगलितं वाङ्मयममृतं जगत्पिबति भुजगभोगाभमुद्यम्य हृद्यं निजभुजं दक्षिणं लक्षणाढ्यं ललितमुद्रिक्तविज्ञानमुद्रं भज भज अनन्तमित्यालपन्तं प्रणतवान् प्राणिनां प्राणभूतं प्रणतिभिः प्रीणये पूर्णबोधम् भवदवोष्णेन ततप्यमानान् भुवि परं नाथमप्रेक्षमाणान् भुवनमन्येन च अन्येन दोष्णा भवतु भीर्मा इति नः सान्त्वयन्तं प्रणतवान् प्राणिनां प्राणभूतं प्रणतिभिः प्रीणये पूर्णबोधम्.
I will attempt to present the Vedic culture to all of you today. Its background, how it developed, and the purpose of its growth. Firstly, let us glance at the scope of Vedic literature. Initially, Veda was an integrated text called the Mula Veda, a vast collection of comprehensive Vedic literature. There was no division such as Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvaveda. Later, the division of the Vedas started with two parts, the verse form and the prosaic form. The verse form was called the Rigveda and the prosaic form was called the Yajurveda, better understood as hymns or prosaic text. Singing the verses with a tune was called Sama. So there were three Vedas: verse, prose, and musical form. What about the fourth Veda, Atharva Veda? There were only three Vedas but 4 sections. Even the great Sanskrit scholars have gone wrong in interpreting Vedic texts by claiming that Atharva Veda has no use in the yagna activities, which doesn't seem right because Atharva Veda has yagnic verses. Rig, Yajur, and Sama Vedas are the ones used extensively. Sama is needed to chant the stotras with a tune. Rigveda empowers the hymns. Many scholars believe Atharva Veda is not included in the Vedas since it serves no purpose in this context. Hence, we see 3 letters in Om. What is the connection between these 3 letters and the Vedas? You will notice the connection if you observe closely. If you have an opportunity, do go through the text of Rigveda. It begins with the letter A. It begins with A and ends with E. It never goes to even U. Yajurveda begins with E and ends with U. This is the A and U in Om. I can talk about only Omkara for the rest of the evening or even a week. We do not have that kind of a time now. Therefore, I have summarized the entire Vedic literature in the letter they represent. You will wonder why Samaveda does not begin with the sound Ma and end with the sound Ma. In fact, it begins and ends with A and U. Phonetics in all Vedas begins with A and ends with U. There is just a half sound of R. There are no other vowels found. A, E, U, E are the original sounds. Ma is the sound in Samaveda. How do we go about this sound? It is not ma, but the tone mm. It is a, oo, mm, and elongated. It is nada. Akara is in music. Therefore, akara in Samaveda is related to nada or music. Nadiya Sangita, Sangita Nadiya. Akara and Ukara talks about Rigveda and Yajurveda. We need not read the entire Vedic literature. By just skimming the Vedas, one will understand that there are only 3 Vedas. Archate anaya iti rig. So what is Rigveda? It means the offering to God. It is through rig we offer appeasements to God and goddesses. Now, what is Yajurveda? Yajus means yagna. It is a text that gives details regarding the method of performing yagna. Sama means a song. All these explanations are regarding the characteristics of the names of the Vedas. Atharva Veda, as compiled by sage Atharva, refers to a tradition of the followers of sage Atharva and is different. Vidya Simhacharya from Udupi recognized a scholar and an expert in Atharva Veda. Around 5 to 6 scholars specialize in Atharva Veda under my tutelage. If you are interested, I can introduce them to you. Sitarama Upadhyaya from Kundapura is another scholar with expertise in the 4 Vedas, trained in the 4 Vedas from North India. I invited him to teach Atharva Veda to the aspirants in Udupi. There are many youngsters in Udupi with expertise in all 4 Vedas, but only 3 Vedas, Rig, Yajus and Sama, are taught in schools now. Let me clarify that Atharva Veda is not a new branch of Veda, but a compilation of Rig and Yajurveda by sage Atharva. It has either prose or the verse form of the Samhitas. So we must remember that Rig, Yajur and Samaveda are qualitative names. Eventually, 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, and 3 becomes 4. And now it is 1137, 1137. How many sections were there in each Veda? Sage Patanjali says, Eka Vimshatida Bhakvrucham. There were 21 sections in Rigveda. But Purana says, Chaturvimshatida, that it must be around 24 sections. Yajurveda contained Shatada cha Ekada chaiva Advaryavam, 101 sections. Fundamentally, it has Shukla and Krishna Yajurveda. Shukla Yajurveda has 15 and Krishna Yajurveda has 86 sections. So it makes 101 sections. 101 plus 24 is equal to 125. Samaveda Sahasravartma Samavedaha contained 1000 sections or Samhitas. Samhitas has a different meaning in this context. We have found 3 Samhitas, Kautuma, Jaimaniya and Ranayaniya. There is not much difference in the mantras in these chapters. 4 or more mantras may differ here and there. As we have already established, Samaveda is nothing but a musical composition. There is a reference that there existed 1,000 ways of chanting the verse. Imagine there were 1,000 traditions of singing the music as per Samaveda. Historically, 1,000 ways of rendering the Samaveda. Currently, there are only 3 ways left. There is hardly any difference in the lessons. For example, some pronounce it as ha-vu and a few others as ha-u, ha-vu, ha-u. Differences in breaking the vowels. Talavakara tradition was a unique kind in Samaveda. Scholars known as Talavakara Samagaru were prevalent earlier, but they are not found now. What is left is only Talavakara Upanishad. This Upanishad has a unique feature. Talavakaran Achakshate means the mantras sung with musical instruments set to a rhythm. We can sing Samaveda through a flute or any other musical instrument. But the tradition earlier was to play with mridangam. Imagine the advanced technology in music then. Now the Atharva Veda. Patanjali says Navada Atharvanaha. Purana says Chakre Dvadashada Chaiva Puna Tasyarcha Vittaye Chakara Brahma Sutrani Yesham Sutra Tvamanjasa, suggesting 12 sections. We must acknowledge that there were around 1,137 Vedic texts or samhitas around 2000 years ago. Scholars practiced all of them. What is left now? Remember, I mentioned 24 sections in Rigveda, only 2 are left now. 22 of them are gone. We need not worry about what to do with them now because all of them are gone. The 2 sections left are Shakala and Bhaskala, out of which only portions of Shakala text are available, practiced by the scholars in Gokarna. The Bhaskala section is gone too. We are trying to revive what is left. Around 100 students learn the available Vedic texts in Udupi. Few of them practice in Kundapura and Gokarna. I am not sure how many will survive. Maybe if the Mumbaikars invite us to talk about it, there is hope for survival. Out of 101 sections in Yajurveda, there were 15 in Shukla Yajurveda. Only 2 are left now, Kanva Samhite and Madhyandina Samhite. The rest of the 13 have vanished. Out of 86 sections, 3 remain in the Krishna Yajurveda text. These 3 texts are Taittiriya, Kata Samhite and Maitrayani Samhite, with no Anuyayis found in Kata and Maitrayani Samhite. Only Taittiriya Samhite has Anuyayis. Shukla has 2 and Krishna has 3 texts with total of 5 left. Out of 101 texts, only 5 have remained and 96 destroyed. 2 out of 24 have remained and 22 are destroyed. In Samaveda, there were around 1,000. 997 are lost and only 3 remain: Kautuma, Jaimaniya and Ranayaniya. They are the only remaining ones. 997 Vedic traditions are available no more. Let us live in peace now that all of them are gone. How did they vanish? There is a Vedic text called Charanavyuha written by sage Shaunaka, which explains the reason for the colossal loss. Charana means legs. 4 Vedas correspond to 4 Charanas. Regarding the various mantras, letters, sounds, chapters and other related matters. Then it refers to Samaveda. Shaunaka says, Anadhyayeshu adiyamanaha indrena vajrayudena nashitaha Iti Sampradayaha means Samaveda was read in the wrong time and place. Lord Indra's anger resulted in a curse spelling the end of Vedas, and it's a metaphor. In actuality, the Vedic texts got destroyed due to misuse. Anadhyeshu adhitaha kupitena indraya vajra ayudena nashitaha. I do not think Indra used his weapon Vajrayudha to destroy the Vedic texts. We lost it due to misuse and wrong procedure. Out of 12, only one remains in Atharva Veda. Rigveda has 2, Yajurveda has 5, Samaveda has 3, and Atharva Veda has only 1. Out of 1137, only 11 exist today. 1126 Vedic literature is gone forever, and a treasure irretrievable. What do we gain by bragging about saving the Vedas? We have neither saved the Vedas nor the Vedic traditions, and we have reached a state where nothing is left to save. If one needs to understand Vedas, the knowledge of numerology is essential. Without this, understanding the Vedas is impossible. Ekam sankye cha yogancha yaha pashati sa pashyati. There is something special in numerology and Vedas. There is a connection between the number 1137 and the word Trayi. Add each number 1 plus 1 plus 3 plus 7. That's equal to 12. 2 plus 1 equal to 3. Therefore, it is called Trayi or 3. Now, try dividing the number 1137. You can only divide 1137 by 3. So, Vedas are Trayi or 3, whether the number is divided or added. It will never be 2 or 4. A philosophy's comprehension is by the corresponding numbers it represents. The number 3 represents the Vedas. There are only 11 left. What is their use? Archived in the library, no one is flipping the pages of the texts, even for curiosity. Only worms like silverfish and termites see them. We are being treacherous to our knowledge and the Vedas. We must at least try to read the text and understand the rich tradition. Such apathy for our texts is justified if they were irrelevant to our times. We will talk about the context of these texts next time.